Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us from across the United States and around the world for Jewish National Fund's 2021 Virtual National Conference. To start us off, please welcome the Chairman Emeritus of Jewish National Fund USA, Ambassador Ronald Lauder.
Thank you. It's my great pleasure to be with you today, if only virtually. My great hope is that we can all be together in Israel for our next conference. Before I talk about some of the amazing and vital things that the JNF is doing, I want to share some very personal thoughts with you about where we are at this time and place, now in the third decade of the 21st century. We all know that we are living through a very divisive time, probably more tumultuous than any time in our lives. There is a new government in Israel, but it took 5 elections and still the vote was still very, very close. My own country, the United States, is almost evenly divided and has become rancorous. There is terrible divisiveness, and even the Jewish communities have not been spared. There are deep divisions among our people. We are split, right and left, Orthodox and Reform, religious and secular. Likud won't work with the new government. It's not just political divisions, there are real hostility. But the one place Jews come together, the one thing we all can agree on, is the Jewish National Fund, the JNF, because all of us know how vital it is to have a Jewish state. Within this audience today, I know there are people who supported Bibi and those who supported Naftali. There are people who voted for Biden and those who voted for Trump. Some of you wear kippah, some of you don't go to shul, but we're all united in our care about the land of Israel. We all want the Jewish state to have a strong future. And for over a century, it is the Jewish National Fund that's making sure that Israel is the safe, beautiful, innovative nation that it is. There is a Jewish state in our world because of the brave men and women of the IDF. There is a Jewish state because of the grace of God, and there is a Jewish state because of the JNF. Listen to what this one organization has managed to do in just this past difficult year. We continue to solve the ongoing water crisis, make Israel the first country in history to face an existential water crisis and win. This was done through, the Lauder Water Plan that constructed hundreds of water reservoirs, developed rainwater, captured projects, and a lot more. That's unheard of. No one else has been able to do it. Only Israel did it with the help of the JNF. This past spring, when Israelis were hit by more than 4,000 rockets fired by Hamas terrorists, and that is what they are, terrorists, the JNF immediately went to help residents there. With when their children couldn't play outside, we opened the doors to Sitrot Recreation Center. When men, women, and children suffered from PTSD, we opened centers with professionals to help. Jewish National Fund USA continues to invest in parks, playgrounds, and schools so Israeli children can live life and even thrive, just like other kids. Following terrible forest fires in the north of Israel, we immediately replanted and rebuilt. Jewish National Fund USA equips local firefighters with everything they need to save lives and homes. Listen to this number. We have donated over 100 fire trucks and rapid action fire vehicles. By the way, the engine I donated is in Eurocom. I hope they'll let me drive it next time I'm there. We are growing new communities in Israel's Negev in the south, and the Galilee and in the north. Once COVID has passed us, tourism will drive Israel's small businesses, and we are developing their skills. We're even teaching new chefs new ideas. The Galilee Culinary Institute. I will bet you that it's a very short time Israel cuisine will be popular around the world. I have to see it to believe it. If you want to talk about miracles, Whoever thought that people would actually flock to Jewish restaurants? But the reason for JNF's success is what it is made of. We are creative, we are innovative, because after all, we are Jews. It's in our DNA. This is all extraordinary work, but that's exactly what JNF has been doing for 100 years. Extraordinary work that has saved the land, saved lives, and supported the Jewish state. That is something we can all agree on, no matter what our personal political beliefs may be. I'm sure you also know, during the COVID pandemic and the political unrest, we have seen a huge increase in anti-Semitism around the world. 89 different countries. Jews make up less than 1% of the world's population, but they are targets of more than 50% of the religious hate crimes. Today, anti-Semitism hides behind the cloak of anti-Zionism, and it's very hard to be Jewish and pro-Israel on college campuses. Across the US and throughout Europe, some young people are hesitant, even afraid to speak out. The problem, as I see it, is that we have left our enemies to define us with their lies. Israel, the apartheid state. Israel, guilty of crimes against humanity. Israel, ethnic cleansing. This is all such garbage, but we've seen lies, big lies, take hold before. JNF-USA is reclaiming the Zionist narrative. No longer will we let those who have no interest in our people's future define what Zionism means. Zionism and the JNF are badges of pride. The story of Israel is one of the greatest and most heroic stories ever seen. That is the story, the heroic story of the creation of the modern state that defines who we are, what Israel really is. And that is the story of JNF, that JNF will tell. And if we needed any more lessons to love and be proud of JNF's work, I have one more. For me, it's personal. Theodor Herzl has been a hero of mine for a long time. As I grow older, he looms even larger. He's a growing source of inspiration. The young, assimilated Jew who had a vision of the redemption of his people. Herzl started the movement that created the modern state of Israel. And Herzl started this organization, the JNF, because he knew Israel would need a JNF. I wonder if Herzl would be surprised if he saw the strengths and successes of the Jewish state. I also wonder if he would be surprised by all the JNF has accomplished and continues to accomplish. Never forget this. After 2,000 years in exile, after 2,000 years of discrimination, destruction, and death, it was time for the Jewish people to end their exile. It was time for the Jewish people to come home. We have come home. Here is my message to you. Remember where we came from and where we are, and never, never despair. Be strong, be positive. Let's continue the work of the giants who came before us, from Herzl to Ben-Gurion to Golda to Rabin and Dayan and every Israeli soldier buried on Mount Herzl. Never forget those giants. Always look towards the future with this promise. Like them, we will not let the next generation down. Thank you, and God bless you.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jewish National Fund USA President Dr. Saul Liesebrand, our Chairperson of the Board, Jeffrey Levine, and our Chief Executive Officer, Russell Robinson, along with their distinguished guests. Enjoy the event.
Thank you, thank you. We want to welcome you all, each and every one of you, our more than 600,000 partners across the United States, to this very special event, the virtual Jewish National Fund National Conference, presented with the sponsorship of Nancy and Ken Siegel, Signature Bank, Chesapeake Contracting Group, and the RBC Wealth Management. Lauren and I were looking forward to welcoming you to our national conference in Israel, where we're going to take you all over our beautiful country, from the north to see our Go North vision take hold, to Beersheba and the Negev Desert, where our Blueprint Negev plan has transformed the region, and to show you how your partnership is building a nation, the Jewish nation of Israel. But as a wise Jew once said, man plans and God laughs. And so, although we couldn't bring ourselves physically to Israel, We're going to bring plenty of the best and brightest of Israel to you. We'll be showing you the incredible impact we've had on the land and the people of Israel through the prism of some of the groundbreaking projects and initiatives launched and run by Jewish National Fund USA. Thanks to you.
Sal, I am so happy to be co-chairing this conference with you, although Randy and I do wish we could all be standing side by side with you in our homeland. What an excellent opportunity this is to share with all of you some of the great achievements of Jewish National Fund USA, as well as our vision for the future. Here is just a snapshot of what we have been up to. Our Blueprint Negev campaign, which is revitalizing southern Israel and enabling communities to bloom in the once barren region, developing towns that had been left behind, and creating an oasis in the desert. I remember years ago visiting Beersheba with Ronald Lauder. At the time, it was mostly a place to stop for gas. Today, Beersheba is the capital of the Negev and the fastest growing city in Israel, and much is due to our work and your philanthropic investments. It also happens to be the future home of the first and only World Zionist Village. Oh, and a special shout out to our friend Mayor Ruvik Danilovich. We will take you to the other end of the country, where Go North is improving the quality of life and increasing population throughout the Galilee, creating communities and opportunities that are encouraging residents to stay and attracting others to move there. From Melat to Akko and Kiryat Shimona, we are there. And our work in water has helped our nation go from a catastrophe to a situation where, through your philanthropic investments, we at Jewish National Fund now provide 13% of the water used in Israel every year. Farmers are producing fruits exported to Bahrain, the UAE, and Europe. We share our experience with communities in Africa and Southeast Asia. In the center of the country, our Alexander Muss High School is welcoming almost 1,500 students to Israel annually from across the United States for a semester abroad educational experience of a lifetime. And it's been doing so even as the rest of the world shut down. I met a student there, and her request of me was to call her mom and dad and ask them to let her stay for another semester. Wow! She will be leading our organization years to come. And check out Dream Israel, our $25 million investment for teens to travel to the country on our program or with the Reform or Conservative Movement programs. And through our Baruchin Fund, we also help support the work of the Orthodox movements with students. What other organization does that? Only the Jewish National Fund USA. There's more. Our world-renowned work for people with disabilities and special needs is dedicated to ensuring no member Israeli society is left behind. And our Galilee Culinary Institute and the just-opened Food Technology Center support Israelis in the fields of innovation and food technology and tourism, which just goes to show, while the world may have come to a standstill over the past 12 to 18 months, Jewish National Fund most certainly has not, just as it hasn't for the last 120 years.
Hi, Sol and Jeff. I'm sorry to interrupt you. First of all, it's my real pleasure to be here with you today. I'd like to send my warmest greetings to all the participants on behalf of the Israeli people and the government. I wish we could be together in person as we had planned for your first ever conference to be held in Israel. It was supposed to be a great event, and we were really waiting for it. I know how hard you tried to be here, but there are factors outside our control who didn't want to play ball. Unfortunately, we are still unable to hold big events but we are about to introduce our tourist pilot again. We will start hosting organized groups of up to 30 participants, and hopefully, after the pilot proves successful, we will be able to open the borders for individual travelers. Please let me assure you that we in Israel are eagerly waiting for you, our family, to come visit us. We know that Jewish National Fund is all about Israel, and your constant and active impact is enormous. We really appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible in January. If everything goes according to plan, we hope to see you on a trip being planned to celebrate Israel with us. Come home for a visit to your home, away from home, Israel.
Yoel, you can interrupt us anytime you like, and we can't wait to be back in our homeland, the Jewish people's homeland, Israel. At Jewish National Fund USA, we say, remember the family. Come home for a visit, and we will. Go to jnf.org/travel to join our upcoming missions. In January, we're planning a President's Mission and a Celebrate Israel mission, so sign up now. Now, before we get to the main program, I want to invite to the stage a true star and someone incredibly close to our heart. Born in Sderot to Ethiopian parents who made the arduous journey to Israel via Sudan, she won Israelis' equivalent of American Idol 10 years ago. We met her before she was an Israeli idol, but even then she was a star. 15 years ago, when every Israeli left Gaza, our people were not met with words of peace. They were met with missiles of destruction and terror. Children couldn't go outside to play. Everyone was inside because they only had 15 seconds, yes, 15 seconds, to turn to the nearest shelter to escape the mortars that were sent to kill them. But the people living in the Gaza envelope did not move. They asked us to be with them, and we were. In 9 months, we built a fortified indoor playground in the city of Sderot. We raised $5 million and built a place for kids and families to come and hear the beautiful sound of children playing. Today, sadly, our playground is still in use. Yet, we have developed 3 new communities in the Halutza area. Housing sites, a resilience center, a pool, a new dairy farm, and so much more. Soon, we will be opening the magnificent Play School Kingdom in the region. At our opening of the indoor playground 12 years ago, we marched through the streets of Sderot and hosted a Purim carnival put on by our college students, the first one in the community had in a long time. It was a magical moment, and it was then when we witnessed the star being born as a young girl stepped up to the microphone and sang a song in the most beautiful voice. She toured extensively around the world since then. Please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Chagit Yasso.
ירושלים של זהב השוק ריקה ואין פוקד את הר הבית בעיר העתיקה ובמראות אשר בסלע מייללות רוחות ואין יורד אל ים המלח בדרך יריחו ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור כי שמך צורף את השפתיים כנשיקת סף אם אשכחך ירושלים אשר כולה זהב ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור ירושלים של זהב ושל נחושת ושל אור הלא לכל שירייך אני כינור שמעתי שדוד הנעים אקורד פלאים לאלוהים ושאתה שונא תווים ידוע אקורד עגום ומסתורי מינור נופל מז'ור ממריא ומלך מבולבל שר הללויה 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 אני זוכר לפני שנים לחש לי מה קורה בפנים אבל עכשיו המעבר מנוע ואיך היית אם פעם נעה בתוך תוכך עם היונה ואיך נשמענו יחד הללויה
Chagit, that was truly beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. You will hear more from Chagit later in our program. Now, please welcome a man who spent his entire life serving the country to which his family has given so much. The son of former Israeli President Chaim Herzog and a dear friend of Jewish National Fund USA. Ladies and gentlemen, it is truly an honor and a privilege for me now to introduce the 11th President of the State of Israel, Mr. Isaac Herzog.
Shalom, dear friends. It is a great honor for me to address this year's JNF-USA National Conference from the heart of Jerusalem. I'd like to recognize JNF-USA President Saul Lizerbram, Chairman of the Board Jeffrey Levine, and my good friend CEO Russell Robinson. I am pleased to be joining you on this important event. Over the years, JNF-USA has developed into a remarkably influential, prominent organization in Israel and throughout the Jewish communities. You have successfully turned every challenge into an opportunity and created breakthroughs in fields such as forestation, water management and food security, and development of the desert, whose urgent relevance to all of the countries of the region is helping to widen the circle of peace in the Middle East. I'm also extremely impressed by your projects in the educational field, especially the outstanding school in the Negev and so many other projects. Given your record of meeting challenges, you certainly were not going to let a global pandemic stop you either. During the difficult coronavirus period, the entire Jewish world saw the spirit and determination of JNF-USA's leadership, partners, and supporters as you continued to advance revolutionary projects, combat global warming, and find innovative ways to bring Israel to communities across the United States. But friends, today the State of Israel and the entire Jewish people face another very great challenge. Not an external challenge, but a very big internal one. The two epicenters of contemporary Jewish life, Israel and North America, are growing apart. This is a threat to the very existence of the pillars of Am Yisrael, people of Israel. One central reason for this growing distance is that Zionism in Israel have become a sensitive and painful topic for many young American Jews, and it's very difficult to talk about it. Too many American Jewish youth are seeing Israel through the lens of distorted labels and labels, rather than through a prism that reflects a deep understanding of our complex reality. At the same time, far too many Israelis lack a nuanced understanding of their sisters and brothers in the diaspora. One of the most important actions that we must take in response to this challenge is to revitalize a global, diverse, and inclusive conversation about Zionism in Israel, and to re-emphasize Zionism's role as a movement of individual freedom, national liberation, and global tikkun olam, as well as fighting global warming and meeting the challenges of modern-day harassment by technologies and by the environmental violators. We must cultivate the next generation of Jewish leaders who identify deeply with the Jewish collective and with the core Jewish values of unity and mutual responsibility. Therefore, thank you for leading new initiatives to meet these challenges through visionary enterprises such as the Conversations on Zionism project, the establishment of the World Zionist Village, the expansion of Israel education and experience programs, and many, many others. These initiatives are tremendously important for ensuring that the deep bonds between the Jewish people and the Jewish and democratic state of Israel remain strong as ever and grow stronger based on our shared responsibility, shared heritage, and shared destiny. Dear friends, While this year's national conference may be virtual, the impact of your work could be much more than real. Thank you for all that you do for the State of Israel and the Jewish people. May you continue going from strength to strength, and we all hope to see you soon in Israel, toiling the projects that you've already started and sowing the seeds for future projects. All the best to you, and shalom.
Thank you, Mr. President. When I came to Jewish National Fund USA 23 years ago, Ronald Lauder was our president, and he was consumed with conquering the water catastrophe that Israel faced. He and other leaders at Jewish National Fund realized that without water, there is no life. Without water, there would be a war, not over land, but over that precious drop of life. So we went out and raised in a campaign $300 million to overcome the water catastrophe. We did it by developing 250 reservoirs and water recycling centers. We then took on the next great challenge, the next great vision, developing the Negev Desert. And together with our leadership and the people of Israel, we wrote a plan which we called Blueprint Negev. It was focusing on bringing 500,000 people to 60% of the land of Israel, which at the time was home to less than 6% of the population. It was an enormously ambitious plan, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. And again, people questioned our ability. They questioned whether Israelis would join us. You know, most organizations worked in the Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa triangle of Israel. How could we raise philanthropic dollars for an area which had been forgotten by most? Again, we didn't take no for an answer. We didn't listen to those who said it's too big, you can't do it. We gathered together the strength of our partners here in the United States and developed relationships with our affiliates in Israel. We asked people to philanthropically invest in a vision. We asked Israelis to join us, to dream with us, to build with us. And again, we proved we are the doers. You will see during this conference how it was then and how today our Blueprint Negev campaign has had an impact far beyond what we could have ever dreamed. We built 6 new communities, one in which was Gavat Bar. It started out with 12 trailers on top of a hill, and at the end of a dirt road, a guard slept and watched over them in a tent. Today, 500 homes, a middle school, daycare, kindergarten, a central park, a stunning entranceway, a beautiful guard station, and a synagogue all stand. All because of Jewish National Fund and you. We had the vision to make things happen.
With new communities comes the need for jobs. And so, Jewish National Fund USA launched the Lauder Employment Center to offer comprehensive career services, guidance, and the resources to local students and alumni, and to help businesses in the region find qualified employees. We work in partnership with Ben-Gurion University and the colleges of the Negev to make the area a place where people want to live and work. The Lauder Employment Center also developed the Negev Human Resources Forum and the Employment Agencies Forum. They've so far served more than 300 employers and 1,350 job seekers. The Jewish National Fund USA Lauder Employment Center provides courses and lectures. Hub spaces have been rented out to more than 20 remote workers. Today, we are developing the Jewish National Fund USA Small Business Association. 74% of the people in the region work in small businesses, and we are developing assistant companies throughout the Negev and Galilee. When our World Zionist Village opens, the Lauder Employment Agency will find internships for young people to spend a year in our postgraduate program working at companies like Dell, Intel, and more, all located in the Negev. Our philanthropic investments have certainly come a long way since we began Blueprint Negev, and there's plenty more to come.
Of course, a quality and upwardly mobile workforce needs somewhere to live. And so, Jewish National Fund USA has focused on improving and expanding affordable housing in existing towns and cities. And, as you just heard, supporting the establishment of new communities. I could give you dozens of examples, but I'll focus on two, Halutza and Yerucham. Cast your minds back 16 years. Israel had just disengaged from Gaza, evacuated from their homes. It would have been easy for families to relocate to Tel Aviv or another established city. Instead, a group of 30 families decided to build a community just 1 kilometer from the Gaza border, where nothing had stood before, and we had their back. Together with Halutza's pioneers, we laid roads, created infrastructure, brought in prefabricated temporary housing, and erected hundreds of greenhouses, planted crops, and built fields of solar energy panels. From these humble origins, Halutza today is a thriving community of 2,500 families. Further to the south, in the Arava, lies Yerucham. Despite the area's striking natural beauty, this is one of Israel's most isolated and arid communities. Like many similar settlements in the country, it was struggling to get its younger generation to stay and raise families. A new approach was needed. We helped set up a series of housing lotteries to sell 3,400 new housing lots, with a portion of the properties reserved for existing residents and special need applicants. We facilitated the establishment of a new hotel, IDF bases, and agricultural projects to help fuel future growth. And partnering with local government, we got to work on a massive public space that will envelop the cityscape with a green perimeter, bike paths, picnic and nature areas, sporting facilities, and new bodies of water.
This is all modeled on a phenomenal success we've already achieved in the Negev's capital, Beersheba. Once one of Israel's most troubled places and a net exporter of people, we spearheaded a $300 million urban renewal project there. In a place of a barren junkyard, a city now is blessed with the world-renowned Beersheba River Park. A 1,300-acre jewel in the Negev has lush greenways for pedestrians and cyclists, spaces for family celebrations, and festivals that bring together people from the entire community and the entire country. With 3 amphitheaters, including Israel's largest entertainment venue, the city is fast becoming a mecca for international artists and cultural events. Of course, we're just looking how far Beersheba has come in 2 decades since Jewish National Fund began its mission to revitalize the Negev. The city itself has been around for more than 3,000 years. And though we can't show you pictures from what it looked like back then, you can see and enjoy the Riverwalk project, incorporating Abraham's well, which he dug after purchasing it. Important to Jews, Muslims, and Christians, the international visitor site, built by Jewish National Fund USA, today boasts a multimedia-filled courtyard constructed with ancient drawings that evoke Beersheba of the past. And that's not all. We built the Beersheba River Park Lake, a 23-acre site, Israel's largest man-made lake. It doubles as a reservoir to irrigate and care for the park's needs. No longer a place just to stop for gas. Beersheva's image among residents, tourists, and Israelis as a whole has, in partnership with Jewish National Fund, been completely transformed. Today, Beersheva is home to the fastest growing home prices in the country. Tourists flock there, and as soon as you can take flight, I urge you to come and visit. You won't be disappointed.
Pretty incredible, right? It's truly amazing and touching to see the difference Jewish National Fund USA and you, our partners, are making in the Negev. And we can't talk about the Negev without mentioning water, not just because of the stunning river park, but because of its scarcity in the region. Of the myriad elements man needs to survive, water is the most precious. We are dependent on it, not only for our own survival, but to raise crops, livestock, and water fields and gardens, forests, wildlife, and birds would become extinct without water. In 2009, Mort Mower reported this to our national board, and I quote, "We are aware that over the past month, the level of the Kinneret has now fallen below the black line, and all pumping from this source has ceased. Water is a scarcity issue. The water crisis is an emergency for every Israeli and for the Jewish people everywhere. Within the past month, a ban has been instituted and enforced against the watering of private lawns and gardens. 2 weeks ago, the entire agricultural freshwater allotment for farmers in the north was cut to zero. The cut will be catastrophic for crops and for farmers. It is catastrophic for our future." That's what Mort said. So, what did we do? We acted. We achieved. We are the doers. And today, we continue with an amazing new venture, JNF-USA's Joint Institute for Global Food, Water, and Energy Security.
This new initiative is focused on enabling the country to use its experience, its technology, and know-how to help other nations. First, because it's the right thing to do. Second, because it's good for the planet. And third, yes, because it's good for Israel. Together with the University of Arizona and the Arava Valley regions, we're developing tools and design methods to adapt technologies and initiate programs to aid communities in arid and hyper-arid environments with a focus on Africa. Now, you may be asking yourselves, Jewish National Fund USA, Arizona, Arava, what gives? Well, Arizona has its own well-documented water issues. So, the University of Arizona has pushed itself to the forefront of addressing the problem and was ranked as the best in the world for water resources by the Shanghai Academic Rankings. It's also a member of the International Arid Lands Consortium, along with JNF-USA and 7 other institutions from around the world. The Arava Valley, which makes up about a quarter of the landmass of Israel, is hyper-arid. Temperatures top 115 degrees in the summer. Each year, it receives less than 1 inch of rainfall. Yet, despite the challenging conditions and forecasts that Israel would have run out of water by now, the 10,000 people living there have succeeded in building a vibrant, modern community. Against the odds, they've created flourishing economy based on agriculture and food production, along with solar energy, research, and academic programs. More than 1,000 Asian and African students come here each year to learn how the Arava not only survived, but thrived, and how they can too. This is a long-term partnership. We want to help Israel and other food and energy challenged nations to build a sustainable future. In doing so, we hope to ramp up the pace of innovation in the field of energy, water, food security in poorer countries, especially in Africa, starting in Kenya. And while we're waiting on research outcomes, which could take years, we're plowing ahead with deploying technologies in complementary fields. For now, we're focusing on developing crops that will grow under solar panels while producing energy for irrigation and drinking water all at the same time. And we'll move forward with projects that show the most cost-benefit promise. Together with the University of Arizona, we are also training a group of Kenyan students in Kenya and in Israel on identifying, selecting the communities in Kenya which we will be focusing on. Just imagine a farmer in Africa will have food on his table and their crops will help feed a nation, all because of the Jewish National Fund, USA. Speaking of education, that's something that's especially close to our hearts, which is why we have the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. The school welcomes students from across the United States for an educational experience of a lifetime. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Eli West and Jamie Nyberg, who attended HSI this past spring and last fall, respectively.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I'm 16. I go to Little Red Elizabeth Irwin in New York City, and I did MUS April 2021 mini-mester.
Hi, my name is Eli. I'm 16. I go to school in Westchester, New York at the Master's School, and I was at the fall 2020 semester program.
Oh my God, MUS was so impactful relationship with Israel. Before I had gone to HSI, I was actually fortunate enough to go to Israel twice, once for my brother's bar mitzvah and once to have mine at the Kotel, which was really, really incredible. But I didn't understand the significance and the community aspect of Israel before going on MUS. My mom actually had done MUS in '87, and so it was always something that was talked about having it be a part of my future.
I really wanted to learn. Like, that's what I wanted to do in Israel, was just learn as much as I could. But also, I didn't totally want to be in online school. That was not going to be something that was so great for me. But coming back in January, my school in DC was 5 days a week in person, so it was not much online school. And I found that in interactions in the classroom and with my friends, it's really hard to not talk about Israel. My school in DC was, this kind of I had to kind of re-enter into society, because while everyone else was sitting at their phone or sitting with their phone or sitting at their desk or bed looking at classes or doing whatever, I was out traveling a country for 4 months. So I feel like I kind of grew 4 years in the span of 4 months. Meanwhile, everyone kind of stayed the same.
It was the most incredible experience, and I feel way more bonded now with Israel than I ever have in the past, and I'm excited to see how that continues to change my future and impact my relationship with Judaism and my community and what types of communities I want to be a part of.
I knew I was a Zionist, and I knew that that wasn't something that I really could afford to give up, but something I was really interested in was the why. Why was I a Zionist? Why is this such a big part of my identity? And so my connection to Israel really started to deepen once I could learn this. And that came through learning history and through learning about current events and through being there.
I think that Zionism before I left meant that Jewish people deserve a homeland. And I think that right now I feel confident to say that I am a Zionist, and that I do believe that we all should have a place where we can live comfortably, govern ourselves, and support equality, equity for everybody. And I think that after having gotten back from MUS, I feel a lot more confidently that that is who I am and that is what I believe. I don't think I believed it before, and I'm so proud and happy to say that that's where I am right now.
I knew it was something that my parents raised my older sisters and I to be Zionist, to be Zionist Jews, but that word really didn't hold any meaning with me. now, it's very simple. It's a display of Jewish pride. And that's really important because I think so many people right now, so many young Jews specifically, are facing massive waves of anti-Semitism online. And not only are they facing those waves of anti-Semitism, they're internalizing it. And they're accepting what non-Jews are telling them, what anti-Zionist non-Jews are telling them. They're accepting that and they're internalizing that. And the effect of that is that they're really turning their back on their own people. And so when I started to see it as simply a display of Jewish pride, that really helped me put it into get some context as to what that word actually means, because it shouldn't be loaded, and I shouldn't feel scared to tell people that I'm Jewish and that I'm Zionist.
I don't even think I can convey how awesome and magical the experience was, and I just cannot stop saying good things about it. Great things, excellent things, magnificent things. You can use any word. It was just unbelievable.
Thank you, Jamie and Eli. With future leaders like you, I'm not worried. For those of you out there who want that experience for your own children and grandchildren, have them go to jnf.org/dreamisrael, where they can earn up to $7,500 in grants towards the cost of their trip. Yes, we're making these experiences affordable to everyone. And when we open the World Zionist Village, our anchor there will be the second campus of our Must High School in Israel. Let me be very frank with you. If more teenagers do not go on long-term programs to Israel, our future will have many challenges. 25 years ago, 19,300 teenagers were going on long-term programs to Israel from the United States annually. A year before COVID, that number was down to as little as 3,000, an 84% decrease. Our college semester-long programs are great, yet there's nothing that supplements a long-term program for high school teenagers. If you want to invest in tomorrow, then you must be involved with Jewish National Fund USA. No one is doing more for our leaders of tomorrow than you and Jewish National Fund USA. Ensuring children and adults with special needs receive services, the very best education, is no less important. From providing the finest in rehabilitative care to making parks, forests, and cities more accessible for people with disabilities, to therapeutic horseback riding, to integration into the IDF, JNF-USA is driving greater inclusion throughout Israel. For more on how Jewish National Fund has dedicated itself to ensuring no member of Israeli society is left behind, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to member of the Knesset, Shirley Pinto.
Dear leaders of JNF-USA, I am honored to be here with you, although I know we all wish it was in person. As I stand here, please know that I'm joined by more than 1 million men and women, boys and girls with physical and mental disabilities who just want to be part of Israeli society. As a deaf woman who became a member of Knesset, I, in particular, salute each one of you, my friends from JNF-USA, for supporting Israel and especially for your dedication and support ensuring that no member of Israeli society is left behind. I'm particularly proud of your support of Special in Uniform, an organization that I personally admire and work with to integrate hard of hearing young Israelis into the Israeli army. I believe that by partnering with Special in Uniform, JNF-USA fulfills the vision of building a society that looks beyond the surface and the disability to the person within, reflecting values that are inherent to Jewish life and tikkun olam, repairing the world and making it a better place. Each one of you is a true partner in creating a future of hope for the most vulnerable members of our society. And now, I'm proud to introduce you a very special group from Special in Uniform, talented young musicians with different abilities who share with all who see and hear them so much joy and love. They are singing with Israel's #1 singer, Eden Ben Zaken, in a breathtaking musical performance. The song they chose is Letter to My Brother, to express the journey that young adults with disabilities take to achieve independence. Thank you.
אל תפחד, תשאף לדעת, אל תדאג או תקיים. מי שבידו לגעת, יש בליבו עוד לנחם. אל תפחד, ימים יבואו ועונות שנה תחלוף. אתה תראה שעוד נגיע אל הסוף.
אל תפחד ממציאות נושכת מאנשים קרים. כל אחד סוחב בבטן ומעט יעלם רואים. כמה כוח יש ברגע והנצח אין לו סוף. לכל דמעה שעוד תרד יגיע הסוף. וזה הרגע, הנה בא השעה. מה תביא את הרוח, מה ימיס את הדממה. ויש סיבות לכל דבר, יש חלום שלא נגמר. בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר. וקדימה אל האופק, אל השמש הטובה. זה רחוק אבל תגיע, קצת ליד וקצת לאהבה.
שמחכה לך, תקטוף אותה כפרי בשל, ואז תנוח תרדם בצל. וזה הרגע, הנה בא השעה. מה תביא את הרוח, מה ימיס את הדממה. ויש סיבות לכל דבר, יש חלום שלא נגמר. בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר. וזה הרגע, הנה בא השעה. מה תביא את הרוח, מה ימיס את הדממה. ויש סיבות לכל דבר, יש חלום שלא נגמר. בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר. בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר. בסוף הדרך עוד תהיה מאושר.
Thank you, Member of Knesset Pinto. Thank you, Eden. And a special thank you to the Special in Uniform Band for that beautiful, beautiful performance. We are now moving to the north, to the Galilee, where our Go North initiative is strengthening and growing a region that is vital for the long-term prosperity of our Jewish homeland by bringing 300,000 people to the region. Key to this is improving the quality of life, both for the existing residents and for the people who will choose to live there in the future. To that end, we have invested vast sums in technology, business management, restaurants, agricultural research, development, hospitality, and medical centers, all with a singular aim: to increase economic growth and help the region become a destination for Israeli and international tourists, for people looking for steady jobs, for a place to call home. And we've got some great examples. In Kiryat Shimona in the Upper Eastern Galilee, we are building a world-class culinary institute, GCI by JNF-USA, where students will learn directly how to cook from the 80 different nationalities that make up a place called Israel. As part of our package, we are supporting business management training that takes place at the nearby Tel-Hai College, and we're help financing small businesses with loans for students to open new restaurants. Perhaps, even more importantly, given Israel's place in the global startup ecosystem, we're investing to help turn the Galilee into a food tech hub. So we partner with the Margalit Startup City to focus on bringing food technology and innovation business accelerators and incubators to the region. The Margalit Startup City Food Technology Center on the Greenbaum campus has just opened. And the future GCI by JNF-USA, directed by famed chef and owner of New York's Le Bot, Lior Lev Sarkaz, is accepting applications for its first year now. With this rollout, Jewish National Fund USA is playing a direct role in transforming the narrative and landscape of the region, creating employment, attracting new residents, and changing the look, feel, and spirit of the area. Of course, there are many historical aspects of the region we don't want to change. After all, that's one of the reasons why so many visitors go there. Some 2.5 million of them visit Akko in the Western Galilee every year. They come for the ruins, the breathtaking landscapes, the food, and the hospitality. Many stop by our Western Galilee Tourist Information Center, located in the heart of Old Akko, which serves as a gateway for information and discovery about hundreds of destinations throughout the region. Our Western Galilee Now Consortium supports 61 small businesses, employing hundreds of people, breathing new life and opportunity into the region. You can see many of them showcased on our Mitzvah Marketplace. Just go to jnf.org/shopping to support them and feel like you're in Israel shopping at these local stores. Already, tourism is fueling new development and empowering the Galilee's younger residents to put roots down. With that said, that's not enough to tempt young adults from the center of the country to make a beeline for the Galilee, which is why we're creating high-quality employment opportunities, which is critical. As we discussed earlier, the Lauder Employment Center was founded in 2015 to address the fundamental elements of employment in bringing people to the Negev. That same success model is now being replicated in the Galilee with the Lauder Employment Center North, and it will be located in Akko.
There's a lot of excitement, there's a lot of conversation, and there's a lot that is happening with one of the biggest dreams, the biggest vision any organization has had for the future of the Jewish people, our World Zionist Village. It's an extraordinary vision and has a $350 million price tag. Yet, if we don't do it, no one else will. If we won't do it, the future of the Jewish community will look back at this moment in time and ask, why didn't we stand up and do what we had to do? When water was a catastrophe facing our land of Israel, we stood up. When the Negev Desert, 60% of the land of Israel, needed leadership and population, we stood up. When the Galilee, 70% of the land of Israel, needed population growth, we stood up. When the people with disabilities needed us to walk together with them, we were there. When the people of the Gaza envelope were challenged and everyone else was just talking, we were there, and we will continue to be there. Today, we are at a crossroads in our Jewish community, where a new conversation is needed and desired by our young people and our children yet unborn. A conversation on shared values and common destiny. That is what the World Zionist Village is all about. Yes, it will be a second campus for our high school in Israel, as well as provide facilities for other high schools in the country and for teenagers around the world. We will have facilities for students on gap year programs, addressing the number one problem of recruitment today, housing. We will be housing one of the Michinot programs, the gap year for Israelis before they start Army service. We will have apartments for postgraduates who are spending 1 year at technology internships in the city of Beersheba. We will have apartments for elder hostel groups to come help teach in the schools in and around Beersheba. We will be fully incorporated into the city and the people of Beersheba. We will host seminars from institutes from around the world, and synagogues and temples will come, enjoy our facilities, and utilize our Zionist education programs. People will travel and spend time in Beersheba and in the surrounding region, which will help expand our dream of Blueprint Negev. All this and more on 21 acres of land in the heart of Beersheba. People from all over the world coming together, beginning a new conversation, developing a new Jewish community, one without walls, without politics, all talking and working together for the common destiny of the Jewish people. Sounds too poetic? Well, maybe it sounds that way. I want you to know that our village is located about a mile away from the place where Abraham purchased his first piece of property. Abraham began a new conversation. I think it's pretty special that the organization known for purchasing acres and acres of land to bring you none other than the land of Israel for the Jewish people everywhere is going to continue the conversation of Abraham. Join us.
Wow. So that's a snapshot of what we and you are doing. Thank you all for joining us virtually for this event and for listening to all the grand schemes, projects, and initiatives Jewish National Fund USA and its partners are working on. The impact we're having on Israeli society and the Jewish world, and the opportunities awaiting you and your children in the land of Israel.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Prime Minister of the State of Israel, Mr. Naftali Bennett, followed by Hagit leading us all in the singing of Hatikva.
Shalom to the National Conference of the Jewish National Fund USA. For decades, JNF-USA has played a critical role in developing and nurturing the State of Israel. You've always stood with us, side by side, every step of the way. You've proven yourselves to be a true partner in building the Jewish state and turning its vision into the amazing reality that we live in today. So many Israelis have benefited from your vast projects and activities here in the land of Israel, which have been enabled by thousands of people who, through JNF, are steady supporters of our country. From the Negev Desert to the green hills of Galil, the Galilee, your national projects have helped pioneer a more prosperous future for the state of Israel and for the people of Israel. Your passion and commitment to the Jewish people and the Jewish state have impacted the lives of so many who have benefited so much from your generosity. As we join hands to continue building this country and ensuring a better and brighter future for the next generation, I want to thank you, JNF-USA, for all that you do. Toda Rabba. I wish you a successful conference. Shalom, my good friends. Shalom from Yerushalayim. We hope to see you here very soon.
Mizrach, Kadima.
Thank you everyone for participating this evening. Just a reminder, we will be traveling to Israel every day this week from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific. Just use the same link you signed on with today. Tomorrow we are going up north, so come hungry as there's great food there. Have a good night.